I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with the feeder flash for Thursday, June the 15th. This market is just completely unraveling now. I'm not exactly sure which thing is the biggest to blame. I would say as much as anything it's the heat. It's the fact that the Packers have kind of got caught up now. They've gotten done filling those out front contracts that they had written earlier in the spring, and they're kind of back in their normal mode now. We've got more of the just feeding off the formulas going on. The Packers are not relying that much on negotiated trade. The feedlots are still very current and probably running a week or two ahead of schedule, but they also know that they've got to continue marketing or things are just going to get worse as we get further into the dog days of summer. But I tell you what, this heat has got a lot to do with it, and it does every year at this time. It's actually happening a little bit earlier. We usually don't see these triple digits this early in June. A lot of times it doesn't happen until right before the 4th or right after the 4th, and that's the worst part of it. It's right during July there. But this market is unraveling faster than guys can keep up with. And another thing, a lot of it has to do with these cattle feeders just caving in and just puking their cattle up. We've had cattle sales every day this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, progressively lower. And that's not a way to hold the market on anything. But you look at the board on Wednesday, live cattle futures, August was down the limit. You get farther out, and most all your traded months further out were 2 to 250 lower, so a lot lower. Feeder cattle futures, August was down 382. The rest of the traded months this year were down $4 or more. Didn't see any of those locked down the $4.50 limit, but hard lower. But you look at fats, we've had trade again today. You remember Monday we had that big 10,000 head trade for out front July at 132, and I'm sure the guys that did that are sniffing around and thinking that that was real funny because other guys are going to take less than that for now. But they started the ball rolling, and guys just feed off each other. You look at these Packers, and I know there's only 4 or 5 of them to get their heads together, but they're so much more disciplined. They're more methodical on how they buy their cattle. If the feedlots would get together and do that, they could do a lot better job. But it's just cutthroat, dog eat dog. I don't care about you. I'm going to the coffee shop. I sold 10,000 cattle for 3 weeks down the line, $2 higher than you did. Ha ha. Well, that's way to do it right there. Fat cattle trade already had 36,000 head in the 5-area feeding region through Tuesday. When's the last time you remember that happened? Wednesday, lower again, 128 to 130 in the northern plains. That's $2 to $3 lower than they sold on Monday and Tuesday. The 128 was more prevalent than the 130, but the 128 was predominantly in western Nebraska and in Wyoming, South Dakota, places like that. Eastern Nebraska had some 130, but they had a lot more 210 dressed, which was $5 lower than what they sold them just one day before. Now, I'm not very smart, but I know that those cattle standing out there in the heat weren't worth that much less than they were just the previous day. But evidently, I guess they were, because that's what happened. But you look at some feeder markets on Wednesday there, your real-time index late Wednesday afternoon was down 371 from just Tuesday. And Tuesday didn't have very many markets to hold it, so when Wednesday come in lower, it really took it down. 144.13, that's $8.36 lower than the close of last week through Friday and Saturday sales of just last week. That's how fast this thing's eroding. You look at OKC West and El Reno, that 8,700 head for the Tuesday and Wednesday sale, about 6,000 head of yearlings, or more than that on Wednesday there. And you look at your prices there, feeder steers $5 to $10 lower, Feeder heifers weighing over 8 were only 2 to 4 lower, but the lighter weight feeder heifers under 8 were $5 to $8 lower. Remember on Tuesday they sold calves $2 to $4 lower. Dodge City, Kansas, $8 to $12 lower on a light run. And then I'm going to give you some individual quotes, and I'll never make fun of a market because they sold cattle low at a low price, and you know, and I could go dig up some unmerchantable cripples and bad eyes and things like that and give you the quote on them if I wanted to go low. But I'm only quoting good sales, and I'm quoting strings of good sales, but I'm just showing you how much lower the market is. In OKC West and El Reno at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, they had a 300 head string, weighed 789, bring 147.50, and that was one of the better quotes. But just think, you know, they were way up into the 150s just a few days ago, and I'll guarantee you every big time commercial feedlot order buyer had a hand in that sale right there, and that shows you how much lower it is. You look up north at St. Joe Stockyards, they had a short load at 11 o'clock in the morning of 770 pound steers, bring 162.75 like nothing ever happened. But you're getting that much closer to your farmer feeders and a northern plains type market. But one that kind of settles in between there just shows you that maybe the word hadn't spread that much, or maybe because it was 10:40 in the morning. But at the Bluegrass Stockyards of Albany, in Albany, Kentucky, they had a load of 797 pound steers weighing right at 8, bring 151. So you can kind of cipher through those and see what it is, but this market's sure enough lower and dropping. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.